Good morning, everyone. I am Shweta Sarangi, and in your previous class, I have taught you about the freshwater ecosystem. So, we have completed our biotic component, abiotic component, and now we are going to study about the biotic components, in which we are also going to study about the producers, and again, which is again divided into macrophytes and phytoplankton, and the consumers, the primary, secondary, tertiary consumers, and the decomposers. Okay. So first, first of all, biotic components includes producers, consumers, and decomposers. The producers, these are the autotrophic green plants and bacteria. They fix radiant energy and with the help of minerals from water and mud from complex organic substances like carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. Producers are of the following types. First one is macrophytes and second one is your phytoplankton. So, microphytes. These are mainly rooted larger plants which include partly or completely submerged floating and emergent hydrophytes. The common species of the plants are Trappa, Typha, Sagittaria, Nymphea, Chara, Hydralia, Utricularia, Marsilia. These are okay. These are our macrophytes. These are the common species of the plants. Next is our phytoplankton. So these are minute floating or suspended lower plants like um, Eulothrix, Spreogyra, Cladophora, Odegenum, okay, and some flagellates. Biomass is estimated as weight of standing crop per unit area or volume. Generally, biomass and energy content of the vegetation decrease from the margin of the pond towards its center. Energy content is generally expressed in terms of cal per gm dry weight. So, these are the minute floating or suspended lower plants. Okay, next is our consumers. Most of the consumers are herbivores except insects and some large fish, but generally are heterotrophs. In pond, consumers are distinguished as primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. So these are the herbivores are also known as primary macro consumers feeding directly on living plants. They may be large or in small size. They are further differentiated as benthos and zooplankton. Okay, next is our secondary consumer. These are the carnivores like insects and fish, which feed on primary consumers or herbivores like zooplanktons labeled as zooplankton. Next is tertiary consumers. These are some large fish which are feeding the smaller fish. Okay, in pond, fish may occupy more than one trophic levels. Okay. Next is decomposer. These are micro consumers which absorb only a fraction of the decomposed matter. They decompose organic matter of both producer as well as micro consumers. In simple forms, thus they play an important role in return of mineral elements again to ponds. The bacteria, actinomyces, and fungi species Caldosporium, Pythium, Penicillium, Sarsinella, etc. are most common decomposers in water and mud of the pond. Okay. Next, we are going to study about the marine or the ocean ecosystem. So, the marine environment of seas and ocean is large, occupying 70% of the Earth's surface. The volume of the surface area of marine environment lighted by sun is small in comparison to the total volume of water involved. All the seas are interconnected by currents, dominated by waves, influenced by tides, and characterized by saline water. Each ocean indeed represents a very large and stable ecosystem. Ocean plays an important role in regulating many biogeochemical and hydrological cycles. thereby regulating the Earth's climate. They have some major life zones, that is coastal, ephotic, bathyal and abyssal zones. So the biotic components of an ocean ecosystem are producer, consumer. So these are the autotrophs, which are mainly the phytoplanktons. They trap radiant energy from sun through their pigments. A number of microscopic seaweeds, brown and red algae are also common in this category. They are in distinct zones at different depths of water. Okay. Next is our consumers. These are the heterotrophic macro consumers which begins dependent for their nutrition on the primary producers. These are the herbivores like molluscs, fishes, etc., which feed directly on producers are called primary consumers. The next one is the carnivores, which fishes like sad, herring, etc., feeding on herbivores are called as secondary consumers. And the tertiary consume the top carnivorous fishes like cod, haddock, halibut, halibut that feed on secondary consumer are called tertiary consumers. And the third one, and the next one is a decomposer. And the decomposer, the microbes active in the decay of dead organic matter are chiefly bacteria and some fungi. So these are our decomposers of the marine ecosystems. So we have completed our chapter 3, that is our ecosystem. In this chapter we have studied about what is ecosystem, what is ecology, and what is the difference between the ecology and ecosystem. Next we studied about the concept of ecosystem. Then we have studied about the structure of an ecosystem, and there are mainly two types of structure. First one is a biotic structure and second one is our abiotic structure. And then we also studied about the categorical division of the biotic structure, that is our producer, consumer and decomposers. And again, consumer is subdivided into primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and the tetrivores or the omnivores. The next we have studied about the functioning of an ecosystem. So there are various functions of an ecosystem. First one is our energy flow in the ecosystem. Next is our ecological succession, food chain, food webs and ecological pyramid, and biogeochemical cycles also. Then we have studied about how energy flow in an ecosystem, about the trophic levels, and also we have studied about the flow models of Odums and Lindmans, the law of the first and second law of thermodynamics also we have studied. And then we have studied about the food chains, then food web and ecological pyramid, and the types of ecological pyramid, that the numbers, the biomass and the energy. Then we have studied about the general process of succession, ecological succession, and also the uh, Odums define the ecological succession. Also, we have studied that. And next, we have studied about the various some major ecosystem in terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. So, terrestrial ecosystem means which ecosystem operates on the earth or on the soil or on the land, and the ecosystem which operates in water, that's our aquatic ecosystem. And the major ecosystem are forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem. These are the terrestrial ecosystem. And in aquatic ecosystem we have studied about the marine ecosystem and the freshwater ecosystem. So in that ecosystem we have also studied about the producers, consumers and decomposers. So from this chapter we have learned that uh, uh, we have a relationship between the biotic and abiotic component, and we are maintaining that. And the study of, and if we are going to study the interaction between these two, that's our ecology, and how energy flows, how the producers make food for us, and we are only the producers can make the food using the by utilizing the sunlight and the nutrition from the soil mass by the photosynthesis process, and we are the consumers, which we are directly dependent on the producers. And there is also ecological mineral cycle, that first one is producer, then it comes to the consumer, then decomposer, again it comes to the producer. Okay, so in the next class we are going to study about the biodiversity, which is our chapter number 4. Okay, so what do you mean by biodiversity? Biodiversity is nothing but the variety of life in earth is called as our biodiversity. Thank you.